In the small town of Oakridge, where autumn painted the trees with shades of red and gold, three children regularly met after school to explore the forgotten corners of the neighborhood. Michael, a 12-year-old boy with red hair and freckles that covered his face like constellations, was known for his insatiable curiosity and natural leadership. His best friend, Sarah, with round glasses and carefully made braids, always carried a notebook where she wrote down her observations and theories about local mysteries. Completing the trio was Kevin, the youngest and most cautious of the group, who, despite his constant fear, never refused an adventure alongside his friends. Together, they formed an inseparable group that transformed ordinary afternoons into journeys of discovery, never imagining that Thursday in October would change their lives forever. The Thornwood House, as it was known by the older residents, had remained abandoned for more than 3 decades at the end of Cypress Street. Its Victorian structure, once imposing, now bent under the weight of time, with broken windows that looked like empty eyes, observing whoever dared to approach. Stories about the property multiplied over the years. Some said that the last owner, Dr. Harrison, had mysteriously disappeared after conducting forbidden experiments. Others swore they heard voices and saw strange lights emanating from the basement on full moon night. Adults warned children to keep their distance, transforming the house into a symbol of prohibition that only increased its magnetism for young and adventurous minds like those of Michael, Sarah, and Kevin, who grew up hearing these stories as distorted bedtime tales. That afternoon, while cycling back from school, a heavy rain forced them to seek shelter, and fate led them to the only place available nearby, the abandoned garden of the Thornwood House. Under the deteriorated porch, the three friends watched the storm when Michael noticed that the back door was ajar, swinging slightly with the wind. "Maybe it's a sign," he whispered, his eyes shining with the possibility of a new adventure. Sarah adjusted her glasses, divided between scientific curiosity and respect for the warnings of the elders. Kevin, trembling more from fear than from cold, murmured, "My grandfather said that whoever enters is never the same again." Disty. After a moment of hesitation, curiosity prevailed, and with a silent nod between them, the three crossed the threshold of the haunted house, not knowing they were about to unearth secrets that the town of Oakridge had tried to forget for generations. The interior of the Thornwood House revealed itself as a labyrinth of memories frozen in time. Dust danced in the rays of light that penetrated through the cracks of covered windows, illuminating antique furniture draped with yellowed sheets that resembled silent ghosts. Michael led the way, his cell phone flashlight cutting through the darkness as they advanced through the living room. "Look at this," whispered Sarah, pointing to framed photographs on the wall, showing a family with serious expressions, typical of portraits from the early century. Kevin stayed close to his friends, his eyes attentive to every shadow and sound. The wooden floorboards groaned beneath their steps as if the house were alive, breathing slowly after decades of solitude. As they explored the first floor, they found a library with shelves that reached the ceiling, books on medicine and occultism side by side, many with markings and annotations in the margins. "Dr. Harrison seemed obsessed with the line between life and death," commented Sarah, leafing through a particularly worn volume about ancient preservation rituals. As the storm intensified outside, the three friends discovered a narrow door under the main staircase. Unlike the other entrances in the house, this one had 3 robust locks, all broken, as if someone had forced entry or exit a long time ago. "Must be the basement," murmured Michael, feeling an inexplicable shiver run down his spine. Sarah checked her watch, noting that they had already been in the house for almost an hour. "We should come back another day with proper equipment," she suggested, always the voice of reason. Kevin immediately agreed, relieved at the possibility of postponing the confrontation with whatever was beyond that door. But Michael had already decided, his determination fueled by the adrenaline of discovery. "Just a quick look," he insisted, opening the door that revealed a steep staircase plunging into absolute darkness. The air that escaped from the basement was cold and carried a strange odor, a mixture of damp earth and something metallic that none of them could identify. Hesitant but united by the silent pact of friendship that prevented them from abandoning each other, the three began the descent step by step towards the depths of the Thornwood House. The basement was surprisingly spacious, with a low ceiling and stone walls that resembled a catacomb more than a storage space. Rusted metal shelves housed jars with preserved substances that none of them dared to examine closely. In the center of the room, an old operating table dominated the space, with worn leather straps still attached to the sides. "He really did experiments here," whispered Sarah, her voice trembling for the first time since they entered the house. Kevin remained paralyzed at the base of the stairs, unable to advance further. It was then that Michael noticed something strange on the packed dirt floor, a circular section where the soil seemed to have been disturbed recently. "Someone has been here," he murmured, kneeling to examine it better. Using a metal ruler found on the table, he began to dig carefully. After a few minutes of silent tension, the tip of the ruler hit something solid. The three exchanged apprehensive looks, aware that they had crossed a point of no return. With trembling fingers, Michael continued digging until he revealed the lid of an ancient chest made of dark wood, adorned with strange symbols that seemed to pulse under the weak light of their improvised flashlight. The chest was surprisingly light for its size, as if the contents were more valuable for their meaning than their substance. Michael, with trembling fingers, tried to open the lid, but it remained firmly closed. "There's a lock here." He pointed to an intricate mechanism, unlike anything they had ever seen. Sarah examined the symbols engraved in the wood, recognizing some of them from the books she had leafed through in the library. "They look like protection runes," she murmured, tracing the contours with her fingertips. Kevin, who had finally found the courage to approach, noticed a small bronze key hanging on an almost invisible hook on the side of the operating table. "Maybe it's this one," he suggested, his voice barely audible in the oppressive silence of the basement. When the key fit perfectly into the lock, a metallic click echoed off the stone walls, followed by an almost human sigh, as if the chest exhaled air accumulated for decades. The three friends looked at each other, united by a moment of collective hesitation, aware that they were about to release something that perhaps should remain buried. Inside the chest, carefully organized, were various items. A leather-bound diary with the initials AH engraved on the cover, labeled vials containing powders of different colors, old photographs showing Dr. Harrison alongside strange-looking figures in exotic locations, and at the center of it all, an object that immediately captured the children's attention, a silver medallion with a blue-green stone embedded in it that seemed to emit its own light. Sarah, with scientific care, began to leaf through the diary, her eyes widening with each page. "He believed he had found a method for communication with another dimension," she explained, her voice mixing skepticism and fascination. Michael picked up the medallion, feeling an inexplicable warmth emanating from the object. The moment his fingers touched the central stone, the lights of their flashlights flickered simultaneously, and a subtle tremor ran through the basement floor. Kevin, the most sensitive of the three, swore he heard distant voices whispering in an unknown language. "We need to get out of here," he pleaded, his instinct for self-preservation finally overcoming curiosity. As they debated what to do with the discovery, a noise on the upper floor of the house froze them in place. Heavy footsteps moved methodically, as if someone or something was looking for them. "Maybe it's just the wind," Sarah suggested without conviction. Michael, still holding the medallion, felt a strange connection forming, as if the object was trying to communicate with him through fragmented images that flashed in his mind. Dr. Harrison performing a ritual, the family from the photograph disappearing in a flash of blue light, shadowy figures emerging from a portal. Suddenly, understanding the magnitude of what they had discovered, he returned the medallion to the chest with trembling hands. "We can't leave this here, but we also can't take it home," he declared with a certainty beyond his years. Kevin suggested reburying the chest more deeply, but Sarah, always practical, proposed an alternative. "We need to show this to Professor Williams. He studied paranormal phenomena before becoming a science teacher." The footsteps above them approached the basement door, and with a quick decision, Michael closed the chest, tucked packed the diary into his backpack, and the three ran to a small ventilation window that Sarah had noticed earlier, barely escaping the unknown presence that had invaded the Thornwood house. In the days following their escape from the Thornwood house, Michael, Sarah, and Kevin experienced a mixture of fear and fascination that kept them awake at night and distracted during the day. Dr. Harrison's diary proved to be an extraordinary document, detailing not only conventional scientific experiments, but also methodical attempts to establish contact with what he called adjacent realities. Professor Williams, after carefully examining the material, confirmed the authenticity of the diary and expressed genuine concern about what the children had unearthed. Some discoveries require maturity to be understood, he explained, storing the diary in his personal safe until he could consult colleagues specialized in historical manuscripts and unexplained phenomena. The town of Oak Ridge, however, began to experience strange occurrences. Unexplained lights in the night skies, electronic devices functioning erratically, and shared dreams reported by various residents, all involving the Thornwood house and figures observing the town from windows that didn't exist. For the three friends, the adventure transformed into a journey of self-discovery. Michael, previously impulsive, learned the value of caution when he realized that his curiosity had almost released forces beyond his comprehension. Sarah, always guided by logic, found herself confronting the possibility that reality was more fluid and mysterious than her scientific book suggested. Kevin, who once feared even his own shadow, discovered an inner courage he didn't know he possessed, becoming the vigilant guardian who monitored the Thornwood house from a distance, noticing patterns in the strange lights that occasionally emanated from the basement. Together, they formed a silent pact to protect not only the secret they had discovered, but also their community from the potential dangers it represented. Professor Williams, recognizing the exceptional maturity demonstrated by the children, allowed them to participate in his controlled research, channeling their curiosity toward the path of responsible discovery. The Thornwood house remained standing, a silent monument to the mysteries that still awaited revelation. Local residents noticed a subtle change in its appearance. The broken windows seemed repaired by invisible hands, and the garden, once wild, showed signs of meticulous care that no one could explain. Occasionally, visitors to the town swore they saw three young figures entering the property at dusk, carrying strange equipment and notebooks, only to reappear hours later with expressions that mixed amazement and purpose. Michael, Sarah, and Kevin never fully revealed what they continued to discover in their authorized expeditions to the house, but their eyes carried the unmistakable gleam of those who had glimpsed beyond the veil of everyday reality. The small town of Oak Ridge, once a forgotten spot on the map, gradually became known in specific academic circles as a place where the boundary between worlds occasionally became permeable, attracting discreet researchers who sought to understand Dr. Harrison's enigmatic legacy and the transformative power of a simple discovery made by three children who dared to unearth the unknown.